Tubers, Tibets, crazy people. Hey, I'm here at Big Rock Resort where I used to live. And I came over to visit my friend Ali, who just returned from his fourth trip, I think it is, to America and back to the Philippines. And not this trip, but the trip before. Ali went to America to not only visit family and friends, but to pull the trigger and file for his Social Security. And the story that he told me was his experience at Social Security was completely different than mine was. Mine was easy peasy. I walked in, did my thing, walked out, and at the allotted time, the check showed up, and that was that. Ali's experience was totally different. That's because things have changed. And I wanted to make sure we put this video out there. You guys are going to be filing for your Social Security, and some of the things to look out for, some of the pitfalls. And he actually had a bit of a nightmare when he filed for his Social Security. And so instead of me telling you what happened, I'm going to bring Ali on. Okay, here comes Ali. Okay, well, as promised, I am here with my friend Ali, and we're in Big Rock Resort where I used to live. And so welcome to the channel, Ali.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming along. And from what I understand, you have a prepared statement.
Yes.
Because we had a phone conversation yesterday.
Correct.
And you told me about your ordeal with Social Security. And so I said, you know what, buddy? If you would share this with people, it might save somebody a lot of pain.
That's true.
And educate and illuminate things that can go wrong. So take it away, Ali.
Sure. First, I have a small introduction. So I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is Ali. And for all the viewers out there, I started watching Paul Old Dog New Tricks YouTube channel almost 3 years ago. And about 2.5 years ago, I became Facebook friend with Paul and his wife, May. In the last 3 years, I have learned so much from Paul's channel, his experience living in Philippines for the last 7 years, and all those educations were completely free. And also, we're able to have a huge boost in my journey to Philippines when I came here. Because of Paul, I feel like I gained 5 years of experience in 1 year, which I applied to myself. And it made me a lot more successful in Philippines compared to other people's. I've been living in Philippines for the last 18 months. I'm happily married to a very young, beautiful Filipina. I have already got my 13A permanent residency visa. I moved to Philippines at the age of 61. So I was very eager to become 62 so I could start collecting my Social Security benefits. By the way, both Paul and I, we have the same birthday. We were born on February 3rd.
That's right.
We were 1 day late because by Social Security laws, if you're born on the first or second day of the month, you get paid for that month. But if you're born on the third day, they skip that month.
That's
so
right.
we both lost 1 month because of 1 day being born late. Now I want to tell you, the viewers, my side of my personal experience with Social Security. What I went through doesn't mean that everybody is going to go through that, but this is my personal experience. About 1.5 years ago, Paul had an interview with another gentleman that had applied in here. He was living here for almost a year, and then he became 3 months before he became 62, he applied for Social Security online, and from beginning, things went sour. And almost a year later, he still had not received first payment, and he was really upset. So I never forget watching that video, and that kind of like clicked on me. And Paul said his experience that before he moved to Philippines, he stayed in US. He filed for his Social Security. Everything got done. He got his first payment, then he moved to Philippines. So that kind of stuck in my head. So last year, 2 months before I became 62, I made a decision to go back to California and apply in person because I didn't want to go online. because living here with the phone system, I do carry my original phone from US. I learned that from Paul. So I have two phones, one in Philippines and one from the US, because a lot of times for banking reason, they text you, so you have to reply. So I definitely recommend two phones. So I went there and I got to Sacramento, California, Tuesday night at 10 p.m. I couldn't sleep all night. So in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, I went in front of the Social Security building in Sacramento, which they open at 8. So I was the first guy in line.
So you beat me. I was the second guy in line.
So 2 hours later, finally they opened the door, and it was December 20th to be exact. And it was cold. I had a big jacket on, but I was still freezing. From the get-go, I had a bad experience because as I entered, the way the guard talked to us, talked to everybody, like kind of like we were criminals, like, put your hands up, turn around, put your hands on the wall. So he did kind of like a search
everybody?
to everybody. I was shocked.
So things have changed a lot in the last 7 years, man, because I just walked in the door.
I was like, what is going on? Because, I had a jacket on, bunch of, pockets. He searched all my pockets. He said, empty all your pockets, put it on your table. Kind of like you're going through the airline. You're going on a plane.
Wow.
The only thing, he even asked me to take off my shoes. I'm not kidding you. I had to take off my shoes. I had to take off my belt. And they do have that electronic wall that you have to walk through to go inside Social Security. So it was kind of like, I didn't feel comfortable from the beginning. Anyway, so I go in and they require either an original birth certificate or a passport and a legal ID. It could be a driver license, could be a California ID, and proof of your residency, and your original Social Security card. So I go in, I'm the first guy, I'm excited.
And those are requirements?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you have to have those, yes. I mean, you can, like I said, you can apply online and then go through the process, and then you have to email them all that documents, or you can walk into a Social Security building yourself, and then go through that process.
Okay.
So I did. So the lady in front of me asked me all the questions. I handed in all the documents. She made a copy of everything that I took. And then she goes, okay, we're going to give you a phone interview. I go, what do you mean phone interview? I'm here. You're here.
Right.
I brought all the documents that you required. Why phone interview? And she goes, it doesn't work that way. The new law says we have to have a phone interview 30 days from today. I'm like, are you serious? I mean, phone interview 30 days from today? I mean, I didn't want to say that it just came from Philippines because I didn't want them to know. So it's kind of like I got stuck. So I didn't want to argue and then make her upset. So she asked all the questions about my email address, everything else, phone number, and then she hands me a piece of paper. She goes, yeah, your phone interview is 30 days from now. So I was kind of disappointed. I drove about 25 minutes to get to my parents' house. I get to my parents' house. I'm all upset. My dad says, what's wrong? So I tell him the story. He goes, oh, don't worry about it, son, Good thing that I had got 6 weeks return ticket from Philippines.
Now, had you planned to go there that long?
Yes, because I wasn't sure. I heard from some people the process of Social Security might take up to 30 days.
Okay.
But I think one of the reasons people were saying that it was because of the phone interview.
See, this whole phone interview is new to me.
Yeah.
When I applied, I called them just to ask a knucklehead question. And my question was, if I have my money put into the bank here in America and I go to the Philippines to live, is that a problem? And I picture her as a little blue-haired old lady because that's what she sounded like. And she called me sweetheart. And she says, sweetheart, you're retired. You can do anything you want. You can go live anywhere you want. Don't worry about it. We're going to send you your money. So I had a different experience.
And I have a feeling because you're a few years older than me, so I think your experience was before the COVID.
Right.
I have a personal feeling COVID changed everything in the entire world, including America, because I lived in U.S. when we went through COVID. You were here already for 3-4 years when COVID happened.
Yes.
So a lot of people that did not live in America at that time don't understand what changed in America. I mean, one of the other things that, we had to wear masks, it was kind of funny because when you enter, they go, you have to have a mask. So they gave you one. And in a rude manner, the guard says, and if you lose it, You got to go home and buy one and come back. And they had like 1,000 masks sitting there. I mean, what is the
This
reason?
was recently? This was just...
This was a year ago.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
when I applied, I mean, what is the reason to talk to you like that? I mean, you worked for 45 years, you earned your Social Security income, now you're here finally on your golden years to collect them, and this is how they treat you. Right. I mean, I was kind of like disappointing from the beginning. So anyway, so I get home after driving almost 25 minutes. Then I read the paper that she gave me for the phone interview, and she had misnumbered one of my phone numbers. Rather than 420, she put 430. I go, oh my God, this is not the right phone number. So all of a sudden, again, my stress level went up. So I drove another 25 minutes back to Social Security building. At this time, there is like 50 people in line.
Oh, lovely.
So at this time, it's like 9:30. So it took me almost 3 hours to get to the same lady that made the mistake. So I kind of looked at her. I go, do you remember me? She goes, no. I go, I was here 3 hours ago. Unfortunately, it looks like accidentally you punched the wrong number. Instead of 420, you put 430. And this is a phone interview. So I want to make sure it gets corrected. So when they call me, I'm ready for you to answer. So she goes, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was early in the morning. I didn't have my coffee. So she changed it in the computer. And she goes, okay, it's done. I go, do you mind printing a new letter indicating a number? She goes, why? You don't trust me? I said, ma'am, it's not a matter of trust, but can I get a new printout with a new phone number? She goes, okay. So she gives it to me. I read it, 420. So I'm all happy. I go home. So I feel better. I tell my parents, I did it. They're going to call me in 30 days. A week before 30 days comes up, I get a mail because I use my parents' mail as my mailing address.
Okay.
I get a mail from Social Security that congratulations, we're going to call you on this date at 1 o'clock, and we're going to call you at 430.
The wrong number.
Again, instead of 420, 430. So I think what happened, she changed the number, but she did not push save. So I'm like, again, my stress level just shot up the roof again.
Yeah, I can dig it.
So the next morning, I wake up early in the morning. So I call Social Security. It was like an hour and 20 minutes on hold until finally somebody got to me. So I tell him the story, and I was patient explaining things because I didn't want to make that person upset. This is my last shot at getting the number right. So finally, she wrote down the number, and I asked her, please repeat it 3 times. She goes, I'm only going to repeat it once. I'm not going to repeat it 3 times. I said, fair enough. And then she said, 420. I said, I don't mean to be rude. I'm an old man. I'm hard of hearing. Can you say it a little bit louder? So I got her to repeat it a second time, 420. Right. I go, thank you, Lord. So that was the end of the conversation. So the day of the phone interview comes up. I'm all excited, 1 o'clock. I ate lunch early at 11:30. By 12:30, I brushed my teeth, flossed my teeth. I'm all excited like a little kid.
Well, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's like...
you've waited
and
all this time to finally have
45 years
to retire.
And then I came
and live
all
your
the
life.
way. I paid $2,000 airfare ticket just to file for my Social Security because I didn't want to experience that your friend had happened to me. And I didn't want to tell him that I live in Philippines and creates problems. So anyway, 1 o'clock comes up, no phone. 1:15, nothing. 1:30, nothing. I'm a heart patient. My heart starts pounding again. I go, oh my God, what happened? Did they call the wrong number again? So all these things going through my head. So I said, okay, I'm going to call them again. I don't care if it's going to take an hour and a half wait to get a hold of someone. So I dialed the number. So I'm on hold. 1:55, 55 minutes later, I get a second line on my phone. I hit it, it's Social Security. I'm like, whew. Again, a big breath, 55 minutes later. The lady, I don't know what it was. I felt like I got harassed because I was online for almost 40 minutes and she asked me at least 60 different questions.
Now pay attention here, boys and girls, because again, this was new to me when we were talking yesterday on the phone. I actually just called to tell him, hey, welcome back, because he just got back from America, last night or the day before?
3 days ago.
3 days ago. So I just called welcome back, and we had this conversation. But listen to the questions this is what's important to me. not only are you going to get this phone call, but these are some of the questions they're going to ask.
Yes.
So forewarned is forearmed. You might want to prepare some stuff prior to your phone. Sorry to interrupt
No,
you, but
definitely, exactly.
this is important, man, because
Exactly
I wouldn't be
what-
able to answer these questions.
Exactly what Paul says. You got to sit down and write down everything about yourself and your past 40 years, because you never know what they're going to ask you. I mean, like I said, this is
What were
my
some examples?
experience.
What were the examples?
I
that you
understand
showed?
that they ask about your name, your social security number.
Your
Those are all
address.
given, your address, date of birth,
Right.
where did you work, all that stuff.
Right.
I was married twice and I was divorced twice. I have 2 children with my first wife and I have 1 child with my second wife.
Okay.
The questions they asked me, which it was relevant, when was the date of your first marriage? So I told them. When was the date of your divorce? I told them. When was the date of your second marriage? When was the date of your divorce? I told them. Then they asked me the date of birth of all my children, their full names. And then my first wife was an immigrant from Spain. And her dad had come to United States in early 60s. And then later on, he brought his family to U.S., so they all became U.S. citizens. So one of the questions was that kind of like shocked me. They go, what date did your first wife dad came to United States for the first time? I'm like, oh my God, how would I know that? I mean, I was married to her for 18 years, but I never asked my first father-in-law, what was the date that you came to America?
Right.
They go, okay. Maybe you know this one. At what day did he become a U.S. citizen? I go, I really don't know. I mean, I go, with all due respect, how should I know these answers? Well, they go, well, you were married to her for 18 years and you don't know when your father-in-law became a U.S. citizen? Because I'm a naturalized citizen myself. So kind of like a red flag went up in my mind. I hope I'm wrong, but I feel like I'm getting harassed. I feel like these questions are because of my name and I was a naturalized citizen versus being born in America. So, I mean, that went through my mind, but back of my head, I told myself, Ali, calm down, answer the questions, be nice, be polite.
Right.
And I followed. So, and then she just dig into it more and more. What was your second wife's first name, last name? What's their parents' first name, last name?
Wow.
I mean, things that I really, and then another thing, what were your first 2 wives' social security number? I go, I don't remember. Well,
Right.
don't you know you filed for divorce? You saying you're the one that filed for both divorces. I say, yeah, I filed for both divorces. And it was a female on the other side. And right away, I felt like she didn't like that. Because when I said, yes, I filed for both divorces, I sensed it, maybe I should not have said that. I kind of got a feeling that, oops, maybe you should have paused and say, yeah, we got divorced. But when I said, yes, I filed for divorces, and then she goes, and you don't know or you remember the social security number? I'm saying, with all due respect, ma'am, I don't. But I do know their names. I know their phone numbers. We're still in contact because we have children together. You're welcome to call them. But no, that's not necessary. So she had kind of like an attitude. So I stayed calm. Finally, after 40 minutes, all the questions were done. And then she goes, okay, what is your routing number and your bank account? At that moment, I felt like I gave birth. I felt like finally, this is the moment that I've been waiting for, that for the routing number. So I gave it. She repeated it twice because now this is the important part because they don't want to send the money to somewhere else. And then so she said, you will receive it on the second Wednesday of every month.
Right.
So she told me the amount and I was happy because Social Security had just received 8.7% raise.
Right.
So that included me. So I was expecting less. So when she told me the new number, I was happy. And then I hung up and I felt like, whew,
Now, out of all the questions that they asked you, what percentage did you know? Like half?
I would say 75%.
75%.
Yeah, I mean, all the main questions, which I think they should ask you. I mean, I understand that they want to know who was my first wife or second wife in case they file for Social Security on my behalf.
Sure, they're
I
entitled
can
to your
understand
benefits.
that. Yeah. So, but asking like, when was your first wife's father became a U.S. citizen? I'm like, what does this has to do with my Social Security benefit?
Okay.
You know.
So if I'm going to ask you this for the benefit of those watching and my own edification, is I guess that what's important if you're in a situation where you've been divorced and have kids, that you would know everybody's birth date. Now, some people, I can remember 2 of my 3 kids' birthdays off the top of my head. The other one I always have to look up because I adopted 2 kids. I wasn't there for the
Gotcha.
birth, you know what I mean? But I know their birthdays, but 2 of them are easy to remember. The other one I struggle with. So anyway, if you have children, you need to know their birthdays, probably their social security numbers. Wouldn't hurt, or did they ask that question?
I don't remember if they asked that question, but I think it'd be beneficial if you
Okay.
write that down, you know, and you'll be prepared in case they do. But definitely, like you said, they want to know their age and they want to know their birthdays.
Okay.
Definitely ask those questions.
All right, so you need to know that. If your wife's full name, maybe her maiden name, I don't know, her social security number, contact information.
Yes.
Same thing with the second wife in your case.
Yep.
Some guys may be never married, once, twice, 3 times. There might be a person that's their wife passed away.
Correct.
So I would imagine you'd need to know the date of the death certificate,
Correct.
that number, all that kind of stuff. And the primary thing is that phone call. That's new to me. I mean, and the problem that my friend here had, in fact, I have 2 of them now, that went through this hell on earth here, was the phone. And in many cases, they would call, but the phone service here, for example, my phone that we're filming on right now doesn't work at my house. There's no cell tower. It's for Globe. And I have Magic Jack, but then I have to have internet. We don't always have internet. That gets sketchy. And so that's what's happened to a lot of guys. They file online here. They do everything right. But now there's this magic phone call that's coming, and they miss it, or they don't get it, or it doesn't happen, or they won't call the Philippines. It depends on who you talk to also. There's a chance that the lady, when you asked her for a copy, she may have gotten a little pissy, and she may have just intentionally not hit the save button. Who knows?
Correct.
You know, I mean, that's all conjecture. Let's just say she did everything right, but the system didn't take it. So what's the takeaway from this? It's just be prepared for all this stuff. That's the only reason that we're doing this video. When he told me all this stuff and it was new information to me, I felt compelled to share it with you guys, because a lot of you that I talk to ask me questions about what should I bring and how do I rent an apartment and this and that and the other. But if you don't have your money coming in and you think it is, but it doesn't, that's the real problem. That's when I see guys really going off the reservation, is when there's a snag with their money.
Yeah.
Now, did you leave your money in America?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the bank account in America. And this is from my experience, and I've been told by a few of my friends that if you can, I'm not saying to lie, you don't have to say you live in Philippines. Maybe you come here to live, but after 6 months, you cannot handle it here, and you go back to America. So you don't want to say, I live here, because once you say that, this is the reason that it gets kind of like critical. By law in United States, when you pass away, the doctor that signs your death certificates responsible to call and notify Social Security that so-and-so died at this date, at this moment. And then Social Security automatically would cut off your benefit.
Right.
When you tell them you're coming to Philippines, living here, not every doctor follows that order. You might take few weeks or maybe few months, Paul can speak better about this, till finally the Embassy of United States finds out that you're dead, and they contact the Social Security. So you might get few payments before people find out that you're gone. And I think some of my friends that had this experience, there is something called proof of life.
Yep.
That you have to do it once per year.
I could address that. If you have whatever you want to do, guys. I'm not your father. Do whatever you want. I'm not here to run your life. I'm just giving information as I know it. I found it safer I maintain a traveling mailbox, which is an American address. I have an American phone number, a Vegas phone number from Magic Jack. So that fulfills and satisfies that. The guys that tell them they want their check deposited in a bank over here or anywhere, any other country, what Social Security is required to do is once a year send out proof of life letter. Okay, so if that gets snagged, and it can, getting a piece of mail, they mail it to us here, it could take 4 to 5 months to show up, and then we don't have it, and then we're late, and then I've heard of other guys, not myself, but then that gets cut off. They think you're dead, and now you get out on the phone, and you got to prove to them that you're alive. And my friend, yeah. I've had one guy, they said, because he used multiple addresses, they said, well, then you're going to need to come in and show us you're alive because we don't know really who we're talking to. And so all these things that can go wrong sometimes do. And we're not sitting here being hypercritical of Social Security, but I do know firsthand from talking to the embassy rep out here that Social Security in Asia services all of Asia. There isn't a dedicated Philippines Social Security. They cover Indonesia, Thailand, Japan. Anything Asian is handled by Social Security out here, and they are critically understaffed, critically overworked. The biggest complaint is that I just get automated email replies. People have issues with their Social Security. They can't get through to anybody on the phone. When they do, they get put off. It's not a perfect system. So you had issues in the States. At least you had a brick and mortar building that if something went wrong with the phone call, you could still pop in your car, go back down and talk to someone in person.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's where I'm coming from. So there's other guys that are going to file online from here, and it's going to go through perfectly. You just don't know if you're going to be that guy.
Correct.
Not, you know?
But my recommendation is that if you can afford it and you want to make sure everything goes correct, go to America when you file. That's my personal feeling, because a lot of anxiety would leave you because there's a lot of what if. And once you do everything right in America, then you can come back and relax.
Well, and you combined it with a trip to see somebody.
Yeah.
So you came out at 61, you hung out for a while, and then you went back to go see your folks and your kids and visit your friends and all that, like I did a year and a half ago. And then you just timed it around your Social Security filing and all that hoo-ha. So that's good. I think ideally, before you move out here or anywhere, I'm not just saying the Philippines, but any country, and you're going to be receiving that money, that it's prudent to walk into a brick and mortar building, talk to a human being, get that phone call, make sure it goes right. I was so paranoid before I came out here 7 years ago, without all this hoopla. I was terrified that I would come out here and I didn't want to be broke. And so I brought a safety net of money in the bank, left in the bank. I had a safety net of money in my pocket. And so I was still hinky. I waited for 2 checks to clear and continued to work a little bit before I pulled the trigger and came out here. That's just how I am. If it can go wrong, it will, in my theory, and I'd rather be safe than sorry. So I waited for 2 checks to hit my bank and clear.
That's the smartest thing to do.
And another friend, real quick, I know this is running long, but I have another friend out here that's been a subscriber forever. His name is Joe. He's the sweetest guy ever. He's having total aggravation with his phone. He didn't install any apps like to transfer money or to make a phone call or any of that. But that's another video for another time. Just another thing is make sure if you're going to be using your smartphone out here, make sure that you've got all the apps on there that are necessary to transfer money, to talk to your bank, to get through. There's a time difference you have to be cognizant of. There's all that happy stuff. So that's my speech. Ali, thanks so much for coming on the channel.
I'm glad I could help.
Yeah, you did. And thanks for the kind words at the beginning of the video.
Sure.
I'll pay you later for saying that.
One last thing. I've been here almost 2 years, and I started watching Paul's channel 3 years ago. When I moved here, I kept watching his channel, and a lot of my people that are here, they go, why are you still watching his channel? Now you live here. There is a big difference. I mean, when you come here, you think you're going to learn everything on your own. You're not. A person that's been living here for 7 years, have gone through hell, and has made maybe 100 mistakes, you can learn from his mistakes and don't make that mistake. I think I'm way ahead of average people that come here because of this guy.
Your words are very kind.
And
there's
this is
a lot of good information out there on a lot of different channels.
I mean, why would you want to refuse to get free education? So, I mean, don't have a big head thinking like, now I'm in Philippines, I'm going to learn everything on my own. There is so much to learn, guys. I mean, this is a totally different country. This is totally different mindset. People are different. They don't think like Americans. They don't act like Americans. Unfortunately, 80% of people that come here after a year, they leave because they don't understand what is going on in this country. But if you get help from guys like him that puts the effort and tries to educate and help everybody else, you would appreciate it.
Yeah, that's what. Thanks for that. But there's a lot of vloggers that are putting out a lot of good information and content. All right, so make sure you tune into 4 or 5 of them and just get information. It doesn't cost a penny. You just watch the video, and if it's for you, cool. If it's not, it's not. But anyway, thanks for everything, Ali. Thanks for taking the time, allowing me into your home. And we'll see you crazy people in the next video.
Take care, guys.